What is up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in. We have a really great guest today. We got the man, the legend, Andy Herman. All right, one of the starters of Packer podcast, one of the best to. But real quick, I want to talk to you about Quick Trip. All right, go to the Quick Trip Rewards app. Scratch daily in the Rewards app account for a chance to win a 2022 Chevy Tahoe. Earn extra entries to play when you buy future Coca-Cola products and take-home meals with the Quick Rewards app. Just like when they gave away the Corvette, you go on the app every day, scratch away, and you could win a Corvette. But anyways, let's get on. I'm trying some new stuff here, people. All right, we're in this thing. What is up, Mr. Andy Herman?
Hey, how's it going?
I appreciate you tuning in. I got you a little graphic right here. We're gonna, where is it? Oh no, this ain't the one. I'm gonna ask you about that later though. This is a professional show. We got the owner of Pack a Day podcast. Also, he's a food expert. Anybody who follows me on Twitter absolutely knows this. But I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me tonight. How you been?
Man, I've been great. I wish we were previewing the Packers Super Bowl right now. That would certainly be a heck of a lot more fun. But outside of that whole thing, it's going amazing. How have you been?
I mean, pretty much the same. Like, I've been good except for that part of it because I felt so much like the Packers would have been in the Super Bowl or at least like been in one more game to have a chance for that spot. But it's not meant to be. Like, and that's like what hurts. Like, I think with these last 2 years, I think both those years, I felt that they were good enough, if not the best team to get there. Didn't happen. Sad faces for everybody.
Yeah, that's the frustrating part is they had the team to do it. And I think, I posted just a random poll on Twitter maybe a week ago to say, who would you most blame? The front office and the GM, the players, the coaches, like, where would you place blame? And I think it'd be really difficult to put blame on the front office. And maybe you could grab a couple additional special teams guys or things like that, but just felt like they had every piece that they needed to be successful this season. They played they would have had to play three teams in the 49ers, the Rams, and the Bengals that they all faced in the regular season and all beat in the regular season. It felt like everything was ahead of them and couldn't get the job done, which I think makes it that much more frustrating.
Yeah, I think if you told everybody that the Packers all they have to do is beat three teams that they already beat to go to the Super Bowl, people would have been jacked. I mean, I think any fan base would be like, yeah, that's what I want. I mean, I get that beating a team twice sometimes is difficult, especially like in the division, like, when you get the like wild card and whatever, and you end up having to play a team that you already beat. But I think I was like hopeful, like I was thinking, I'm a pretty cocky Packer fan to begin with.
We love that.
But I was extremely hopeful. But one thing I want to ask you about, because one thing I think is good about having you on and certain people is people ask me questions all the time and I never know the answers because
Stop it.
But we got ourselves a new special teams coordinator, and I know that a lot of people are very high on him. I know he's good, but like I don't know a ton about him. I just know that everyone says he's good. And I was glad they got him, but like I'm not like because like I know like but you know what I mean? Like, so you obviously probably know a little bit more about him than I do. So can you kind of fill everyone in, like just why everyone's saying how great he is?
Yeah, so I think there's a couple different things, right? I think first of all comes leadership and experience. I think when you have 20 years of special teams experience, I think that's going to certainly help you navigate a situation where Green Bay's in right now, where listen, it's been basically 20 years of ineptitude in special teams. And when you have to have somebody come in and sort of not only try to make your special teams better, but completely change the culture, I think this is exactly the type of guy that you want. I just look at last year, what he did as head coach of the Raiders. They have to make a coaching change midseason because of all the Gruden stuff that happens. You have the Henry Ruggs incident. Everything's not looking great. You're in a division with Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert, and an AFC that ended up being much better with Joe Burrow's Bengals and Josh Allen's Bills, and the Patriots with Mac Jones that all of a sudden looked a lot better than I think it did to a lot of people preseason. And yet somehow he took that team to the playoffs, I think, despite a lot of odds. And I think it's, that situation shows that he knows how to overcome adversity and overcome really a crappy situation and still be successful. And the fact that he's done that is hopefully a great sign for what he can do with the Packers and their special teams. That again is basically been inept, and you can't point at anything on special teams, Matt, and say, yeah, Green Bay does a pretty good job of that. It's all a nightmare right now. I equated this a little bit on Twitter yesterday to when Green Bay got Jerry Gray as defensive backs coach. It maybe isn't something that overnight you immediately realize, and like all of a sudden you're like, wow, this has made a huge impact. And then all of a sudden you're playing an NFC champion or an NFC divisional round game, and Jair Alexander is in there, and Eric Stokes is in there, two guys that he has been very, much a mentor for and has helped bring out their skills. I think Jerry Gray was instrumental in getting Rasul Douglas to play at his highest level that he's ever played at. And all of a sudden you've got a defensive backfield that looks pretty darn good. I think if Bisaccia can do something similar to the special teams that Jerry Gray did with the defensive backs, I think you're in a pretty good spot. So like the hire, I think he brings a lot of leadership. I think he's going to motivate the special teams, get the most out of them. But this is step one to trying to fix the special teams that's been abysmal. It doesn't just end with putting a new chef in the kitchen. You have to get him new ingredients. You have to have a new philosophy. You have to have a new design. And that's what's going to be the next step after getting him in as a new coordinator.
Yeah, because obviously a lot of people thought he should have been the next head coach of the Raiders. A lot of people think he has. I think eventually probably will get the head coaching option or whatever. He'll probably get hired eventually as a head coach. So I'm not sure how long the Packers are going to have him for, but I absolutely agree. I think it's about a culture. Like a lot of teams, you have these trash teams that are just losing, like the Lions type of teams. And that's what it is to make a winning culture. You have to teach them how to win. The Packers are winning, but that special teams I think needs a little culture change. Like I say, it's not just who's coordinating them. They obviously need some guys to get in there and do it, but I think there's a big culture change that needs to be. I remember I was saying this the other day when Devin Hester, because I think it was the anniversary of Devin. Had a lot of people talk about Devin Hester lately. But when Devin Hester was returning kicks, they used to always say it wasn't just Devin Hester. Everyone knew this guy could take the house anytime. So everyone was blocking for him. I think the same probably Desmond Howard back in the day. They knew that they had a guy behind him that could do it. So we better block, get it right. I think that has a lot to do with it. And it's not just returning kicks. Obviously, it's blocking to make sure punts ain't blocked and all those things. But yeah, I think it's a big culture change. But I like the hire.
Yeah, no, I do too. And no, I agree with you. It's going to take, like I said, it's going to take more than just a new special teams coach. I think you have to look at how much time they spend practicing special teams. I think you have to look at, are you going to play your starters more on special teams, which Rich Bisaccia did more than any other team that was in the playoffs this year, and how he played starters on special teams. I think that's going to be something they have to take a look at. I think you need to keep and retain guys that are core special teams guys. For example, I know these guys weren't big names at the time. Anthony Levine had a decade-long career for the Ravens as a special teams guy. You know where he started off? With the Packers. Chris Banjo spent about a decade as a special teams specialist, mostly with the Saints, some with the Cardinals. You know where he started off? In Green Bay. They got to retain those type of guys when they get them in the door and make sure that, on the surface, who was really upset about cutting Chris Banjo or Anthony Levine at the time. But those two have been core special teams players for the better half of over the last decade, which is crazy to think about. It's when people think special teams, immediately they think long snapper, they think punter, they think kicker, but it's so much more than that. And Green Bay is going to have to find a couple of core guys that they have that can not only be on special teams consistently, but be difference makers and be guys that are motivated. That's their job. And maybe you can say an Isaiah McDuffie or a Ty Summers, a couple of those guys here and there. But again, those are guys that are still trying to battle to make their way up the linebacker. I want guys in the special teams that are there for special teams. They know that's their job. They are geeked about it. They know that if they can figure out special teams, they can make themselves a decade-long career as a dedicated specialist. I think Green Bay needs a couple guys like that want to be out there and not just no offense to Ty Lancaster, but a guy who's just barely putting his arm out to block a kick in a playoff game. Not just a long snapper, and Henry Black, who probably isn't covering behind his long snapper when he's getting bull rushed by Jordan Willis in the biggest play of the Packers season. You have to have guys that are dedicated to it, and that's going to take, like you said, a full culture change.
Yeah, I think it's like absolutely wild, like how it all went down. Like the defense played so good, like in that game. The defense like did their job. People can say what they want about the offense, but like if the special teams just plays just doesn't allow blocks, then it's like a whole different thing. So like I think it's wild that we're even talking like this. Everyone's gonna talk about this whole offseason is special teams because we're just and nobody really looks at special teams that closely. You're either really good at it or you're really bad, and like everything in the middle, no one really talks a whole ton about it.
And let me read you this because I think this is super interesting, right? So these are the players who played the most special team snaps for the Packers this past season. You stop me when you get to a name that you like trust out there, like just in any situation, right? Like take special teams out of it. How much would you want these guys on the field, period, right? Oren Burks, Henry Black, Isaac Yadam, Ty Summers, Tyler Davis, Shamar Jean Charles, Isaiah McDuffie, Tyler Lancaster, TJ Slayton, and then of course Crosby and Bojorquez, Josiah DeGuara, Dean Lowry. 13 is Dean Lowry. That's like when you first get to a player where you're like, all right, I kind of trust him out on the field. Malik Taylor, Chris Barnes, Dominique Daphne, Amari Rodgers, EQ, Jonathan Garvin. Number 20 on the list, you get to AJ Dillon. You're like, okay, I trust AJ Dillon a little bit. Number 21 is Rasul Douglas. So you've got 21 guys in that have been the players who have played the most special teams. And maybe you feel pretty good about Dean Lowry, AJ Dillon, in Rasul Douglas, who, by the way, played like a total of like 240 snaps combined of the three of them. You just can't go out there. I don't care if you want to run an offense, a defense, a special teams, a 5-on-5 basketball league, a celebrity softball challenge. If those are your 18 guys that you're going in with, you're not going to win very much. And that, regardless of who is that coordinator, they didn't have the pieces out there to succeed. Mo Drayton he didn't do better, and there's a reason that he's gone. In fact, his team did worse than the special teams did a year ago when they fired the last guy. But it's not like they gave him a ton of great ingredients to work with either.
Yeah, a lot of these special teams, like even Packer teams in the past, like there was just guys that were just special teams, like you mentioned, and they were just like you seen them out there just like firing down, like whether they were a gunner or whatever, but like they were just special team guys, but they were out there just giving like 100% effort, like, and people talked about them. But let's move off of the special teams because it's making me sad.
Fair enough. Agreed.
But big shout out to Alex Struff over here in the comments. All right, so I got to ask you the question of the offseason besides special teams about Aaron Rodgers. I actually had Alex Struff on last week and talked to him about it. But first of all, do you think Aaron Rodgers is going to be a Green Bay Packer next season? Like your gut, like your opinion right now?
Yeah, you ask me right now, my answer is yes. You ask me tomorrow, 4 days ago, 6 weeks from now, I have no freaking clue. It could be something totally different. But as I sit here right now talking to you, I do. I think there's a couple tells on things. The first is when Matt LaFleur says that everyone in the organization is on board that they want to keep Aaron Rodgers, including, and he named everyone, right? He named Mark Murphy, Russ Ball, Brian Gutekunst, and himself. The 4 key decision makers are all on the same page. And then Mark Murphy doubles down on it and says the same thing. Now, as I've talked about on the podcast on numerous occasions, there's a benefit to them saying that either way. Now, with them getting that message out there, now if something else happens, it looks like Rodgers is the guy that wanted to trade, or Rodgers is the guy that wanted to, like, it looks like Rodgers is the bad guy in that situation, right? The optics favor the Packers if they come out immediately and say, we all want him back, we're all on the same page, we're all in lockstep, and they double down on that. I think there's an advantage to doing that no matter what. But based on them doing it twice and using that same verbiage that everyone's on the same page, I tend to, at this moment, and again, I'm, very easily could change my mind in, 10 minutes from now. But as of this moment, I take them at their word. I think they legitimately want Aaron Rodgers back as quarterback of the Packers. From Aaron Rodgers' standpoint, I think he's had a couple tells as well. I think he's basically said from the beginning that he's wanted that all-in sort of feel from Green Bay, that everyone's on the same page, that they want him back. That they, are not going to have this rebuild and, go to Jordan. Like, he wants that assurance. I think so far they've given him that in the fact that they want him back and saying that. I think now is going to be the actions. I think we'll tell pretty soon if Green Bay starts mortgaging a ton from the future. They need to do some of it no matter what. But if they start clearing massive amounts of salary cap space so that they can keep the majority of their team together and add some, potentially even some more pieces to the puzzle, I think that's going to be a tell that they're doing everything they can to go all in to impress Aaron Rodgers and make sure that he wants to come back. And the last thing I'll say is, I think Rodgers has been very clear in the fact that if the Packers are all in and not rebuilding and they want him here, that he wants to continue to play. I think he's basically said, hey, as long as I can still play, he wants to play in this league. He's going to win an MVP for the fourth time this season. So I would be shocked if he retired because, again, based on everything that he's told us up to this point, to me, the playbook is out there of what he's wanted or what would need to happen for him to retire. And I don't think any of those things are out there. So now it's just, does Green Bay show enough that, hey, they can keep this team together? I think what happens with Davante Adams is a really key piece in this. And if Green Bay feels that they can keep him around to tag team with Aaron Rodgers, and if not, does Rodgers feel comfortable that Green Bay has enough pieces to win it all? And would he want to go to a different team if not? So that's where I'm at right now. But if answering today, I'm leaning that I do think he's going to be back.
Yeah, and that's basically exactly what, not a lot of that, because that's a lot smarter than a lot of than what I say. But like I've been saying, it's like day to day, because Aaron Rodgers hasn't said anything, done anything for me to like believe that he just wants out and he's not happy. Like he's been saying all things on McAfee, saying he has a good relationship and like they're all, happy go lucky, they're over there having good times like during the season. And the Packers are saying that they want him back. So obviously there's like cap situations and there's a lot of numbers that are going to be involved. And like, if they can get Davante Adams, like, is it for sure? Like if Davante Adams isn't there, is he, does he want to be there? And I think he knows like he can win without Davante Adams. And Davante Adams, first of all, like I've seen so many comments, people thinking like Davante Adams is like a part of like Aaron Rodgers made him. Like Davante Adams is a good wide receiver and he'll be a good wide receiver no matter if I'm throwing the football. I mean, maybe not that because it wouldn't be near him. But, Davante Adams, wherever he goes, I believe that Davante Adams wants to be successful. So I don't think he's just going to go for all the money and go to like a team with no quarterback. But I do believe he wants money. And I would too. You never know like what happens. So I don't blame players for that. But it'll be interesting. Like if Rodgers comes back, if Davante will be able to come back and how many players are able to come back. I know that like the cap is a real thing. It's way above my head, but there's a lot of smart people who say that, that they can work the things that they can get it worked out. Do you think that is it possible to get Rodgers and Davante and not like butcher this team at the same time?
Yeah, they're going to have to do a lot of borrowing from the future, and they're going to have to make some difficult decisions. They're going to need to make some other restructures. And again, they're going to have to do a lot of that stuff no matter what. They're not in a great spot. They're in a workable spot. A lot of it depends on the contracts that Rodgers and Adams want, dependent, which would make some of the choices harder as to like who they need to release and things like that. And I think it's going to be difficult for Aaron too, because what he has to realize is if he and Davante are back, a lot of the cuts would be the guys that he likes. Randall Cobb, Billy Turner, those type of Mercedes Lewis, Mason Crosby. Those are a lot of guys that he's very close with and I'm sure wants on the team. Now, it's possible that Green Bay could release those players and they sign back on minimum deals or things like that. Randall Cobb, Mercedes Lewis maybe being the two that would make sense there. But there's no guarantee in that. And then in that situation, you're almost saying like, hey, because we want max money, then those guys are going to have to take less. It's just a really awkward situation, right? So there's ways to do it. There's absolutely ways that they can get Davante and Rodgers back and not butcher the team, so aggressively that it doesn't matter, right? But there's going to have to be very difficult decisions. And there's going to be players that I promise you, every single person that's listening to this doesn't want to see gone, that will be gone. But that doesn't mean that they can't be ultra competitive and win a Super Bowl. You probably need a good draft. You probably need a couple more Brian Gutekunst specials, like another, Rasul Douglas or Devondre Campbell find in free agency. But that's not out of the realm of possibility. And the other thing I'll always say too is, I would make a strong argument that the 2010 team that won the Super Bowl has not been Aaron Rodgers' best team, but they won the Super Bowl. just because this team's a little bit, this team upcoming might be worse than the last 2 seasons, doesn't mean that that's not the team that wins the Super Bowl. So it's a different journey every year. Aaron Rodgers talks about that all the time. The players are different. The pieces are different. The time that you get hot, and getting hot at the right time matters a ton. We've seen that with Cincinnati. We've seen that with the Rams, even this season. You don't have to go back further than that. We saw that with the Packers in 2010. So just because they maybe lose some pieces and maybe aren't quite as good of a team doesn't mean that can't be the team that wins the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I actually totally agree with that, because a lot of the teams that win a Super Bowl aren't considered the best team in the league that whole year. I mean, there's so many teams you can look at: the Packers in 45, those Giants teams. Like a lot of these teams, like no one would have thought. If the Bengals ended up winning the Super Bowl, nobody, which I'm rooting for them, and I think that. I think that they definitely have a shot. But like if they win a Super Bowl, no one would say at the beginning of the year the Bengals are winning the Super Bowl. The Rams were all in, so like some people were kind of thinking that. But like mid-season, I'm not sure a lot of people were so sure about the Rams. With the NFL, like you don't have to be the all-out best. You don't have to have the best roster and like all these shiny pieces. Like if you get hot at the right time, just like Herm Edwards used to say, just get a shot at the tournament and see what happens. So yeah. If they can keep a core piece of this together, I think I'm happy. But let's talk about the Super Bowl quick. I don't want to keep you too long, and I got a few more for you.
Yeah.
So, do you have a pick for the Super Bowl?
Yeah, I struggle with this one. I think it's a really fun matchup. I believe that the Rams are the better team. I think the Bengals feel like the team of destiny. So my heart wants the Bengals. I think that's a more fun story. I do feel like they are a team of destiny. I think Joe Burrow is the better quarterback, and that goes a long ways. So definitely think that they have every legitimate shot to win this game. I just think the Rams are playing a little bit better. I think the 49ers game, I think they didn't play great in that game. I think leading up to that, they played 2 pretty darn good football games. And I think if they play like they did in those first couple, I think they're going to be really difficult to beat. And I think the Rams just seem to be peaking and hitting their stride at really in all phases at exactly the right time. So I lean Rams in this one, but man, heart wants the Bengals, head says the Rams. I think it's going to be a phenomenal game.
Yeah, I'm like exactly the same way, except for my heart overtakes my brain. So like I'm picking the Bengals, but I like Stafford. I think if the Rams win, that would be a good story. Stafford, was stuck on the Lions, basically in prison for so many years, gets out and wins the whole thing. But besides him, like I want the Bengals. I like the small market, small team. Bengals fans have been through so much; they haven't won anything in forever, and I think it's a great story. Then Joe Burrow, he's just like the coolest guy. Like I don't know how anyone, I just think that besides me and you, he's probably one of the coolest people.
He steals a lot of his style from you and I, which is I think what makes him so appealing. So I think that's a big piece of it.
Yeah, and he must follow us and secretly. All right, so I want to get, because you are known as the great food critic, and I think me and you are a lot this way because I eat like a toddler. So I have to ask you. I'm not sure that I know that in the past when I've had you on, we've had some food talks or whatever. I don't remember what we talked about because it doesn't really stick out. But what are your top 5 favorite foods? Like if you were like on an island stuck forever, what would be the top 5 foods? Like if you can bring 5 meals and that's what you got to eat forever, what are you picking?
Yeah, I think number 1 is clearly pizza. So we can easily start there. Number 2 is going to be cheeseburgers, of course. Number 3 is going to be tacos. Number 4, I'm a real big scrambled egg guy. So like scrambled egg, toast, butter, just kind of that whole sort of thing. So that's probably has to be on there as well. And then number 5 is just going to be, some form of really good sandwich, whether it be, your favorite sandwich shop, something like that. Just like a really, really good sandwich would have to be in the top 5 as well. I'm certainly negating some things. A really good steak is phenomenal. I could eat cereal for literally ever. So I'm definitely leaving a couple key items off the Andy Herman food list here. But I think those, if I was limited to 5, I think those would be my 5.
I think that if me and you were together, I'd be all right because I'm a very picky eater. But you'd have to throw in some macaroni and cheese in that list.
Sure.
For me to,
mac and cheese.
Yeah, for me to get on board and be stuck on the island with you. But I'm I'm gonna let you go. I appreciate your time, everyone. Be sure to check out Pack a Day Podcast. He does not just him, but he has a great group of people that they do a podcast every single day, 365, 7, whatever, all those things, all those numbers. But you do a great job. Also on YouTube, Pack a Day Podcast. He does a video every single day, breaking down stuff, talking to smart stuff about football, and you do a great job. You're a great part of Twitter. You're a great part of all the Packer community, and you're awesome.
Hey, I appreciate that greatly. Happy to do this anytime. You're killing it as well. So keep up the amazing work, and let's do this again soon.
Yeah, sounds good, man. Have a good night.
You bet. See you guys.
All right, so that was Andy Herman from Pack a Day Podcast, one of the smarter people talking about Packers football all across the land. You can check him out. Like I said, Pack a Day Podcast is on YouTube, on Spotify, on Apple, on all the places that you listen to Packers podcasts. Appreciate y'all tuning in. It's always great to talk to good people, talk to smart people every now and again. You know what I mean? Go Pack, go, people. Have a good night. And unless you're listening to this tomorrow, have a good day. Good morning. You know what I mean? Big shots, quick.